The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Twilight Talk Radio, its advertisers, or affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
Put your mark in your praise. Normally I know when to back off, 'cause you're raising the stakes. I play to win.
And good evening, boxing fans, and welcome to another episode of the Body Shot Boxing Show on Twilight Talk Radio. I'm your host, Brian Murphy, and we can be heard every Wednesday evening at 8:30 p.m. Pacific Time. Super exciting show lined up for you today, boxing fans. We have Mr. Kenny Porter, father and trainer of one of my favorite boxers, former IBF welterweight champion, Sean Porter. He'll be joining us in a few minutes, so I'm very excited about that. If you want to call in and ask him some questions, as you all know, he's very outspoken, so he'd love to hear from you. Our call-in number is 909-726-7226. That's 909-726-7226. So call in, ask Kenny some questions, and we'll have a great conversation. We had a good action of boxing this past weekend, starting off with the heavyweight division. Luis Ortiz continues to make some noise for himself with a 6-round stoppage of Tony Thompson. I got to tell you, I think Luis Ortiz can really do some damage to some top contenders in the heavyweight division right now. I think he can give just about anybody a run, probably with the exception of Klitschko, but I think he could beat maybe possibly Deontay Wilder. You know, I think he can give him some good competition, and he's beat some people who are highly ranked already and up there. So I think he's going to make some noise. He's pretty quick for his size, and he's got some massive power, and I think he's got a good solid skill level, and I think he can shake up the division a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see what Luis Ortiz does as he continues his climb up the heavyweight division. And in another big bout, we had Jesse Vargas, who stopped Saddam Ali to win the vacant WBO belt. Jesse Vargas, you know, he lost to Timothy Bradley, but he looked pretty okay in that fight. I think Jesse Vargas is going to be able to do some decent things. I don't know quite how far he'll be able to go, but I think he'll be able to make a decent name for himself and get some exposure. He's a pretty solid fighter. Saddam Ali is a solid fighter, and he was able to get past him. So it'll be interesting to kind of follow his career and see what happens with that. And to our brothers and sisters over at the UFC, what a huge weekend for mixed martial arts. Very important and significant fights this weekend, with Nate Diaz defeating Conor McGregor by way of a rear naked choke in the second round. And also congratulations to Miesha Tate, beating Holly Holm. You know, Holly Holm, obviously everybody knows she took out Ronda Rousey, and this was her very first title defense, and she lost it. So congratulations to Miss Tate for rear naked hold in the 5th round. So that was pretty interesting. That was a good fight. I really was watching that at a bar down the street from my house, and it was a whole lot of excitement. It was really, really interesting. I think the happiest lady in America that night was Ronda Rousey, who has beaten Miesha Tate twice already. And so, she also lost at home, of course. So we'll see what happens with that, either a rematch or maybe just she'll fight Tate again. So we'll see. But what we're going to do is we're going to get ready to jump into a quick commercial break. And when we do, we're going to come back and we're going to have Mr. Kenny Porter on the line. We're going to talk about a bunch of good stuff. We're going to talk about his son's exhibition fight coming up. I'm assuming that's going to be a nice little stay busy fight for him. Since Keith Thurman had to drop out, and talk about other fights coming up for him and other fights in general, and his thoughts on the state of the boxing game. All right? The Body Shot Boxing Show. We'll be back in a few.
When you're a teenager, there are a lot of things going on that can produce stress and anxiety. The pressures of school, dating, and the future in general can seem overwhelming sometimes. But there are healthy ways to deal with stress, ways to reduce it and channel your energy in positive directions. And you don't have to do it alone. The Will Rogers Institute has a free booklet with some really helpful information.
For your free copy, visit wrinstitute.org and find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Hi, I'm Harry Anderson. For a good, uncomplicated way to exercise, take a walk. At any age, walking is one of the best ways to keep your heart fit and your joints limber, without the injuries that jogging or some aerobics can cause. Ask your shoe salesman for a shoe that's designed for walking. And ask your doctor to help you plan an exercise walking program that's right for you. Soon, you'll be on the road to better health.
A message from the Will Rogers Institute, wrinstitute.org.
Okay, and we are back with the Body Shop Boxing Show on Twilight Talk Radio. You there, Kenny Porter?
Yes, I am.
Okay, how you doing out there in Las Vegas? You having fun?
Yeah, today was a good day.
Okay. You're not losing too much money out there, are you?
No, I don't. I've never been in the casino to pull a slot or gamble or anything.
Okay.
Never done it.
Okay. Same here. I'm not a gambler. You know, I enjoy going to Vegas and just kind of walking around the strip and hanging out and chilling. But I'm not I've never even pulled the lever on in a casino, so or on a slot machine. So I'm right there with you. So thanks for joining us. I know you got a busy weekend and a lot of things coming up with your son in the exhibition match. So we appreciate you coming on.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So this exhibition match, I assume it's basically a stay busy fight for your son because Keith Thurman had to drop out. So I'm guessing that you wanted to keep him active. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're really disappointed that we're not boxing this weekend, and the preparation that we had for this fight was tremendous. And actually, the last 2 weeks of the camp, we took it from Las Vegas here, where we have our high performance center, the Porter High Performance Center. We took it from here to Big Bear, California.
Mm.
And we had just got off a plane in California at the airport, and Sean's phone was ringing off the hook. I turned on my phone, and I'm getting a lot of text messages from people, and they're all saying the same thing: please give Al Haymon a call. So we gave him a call, and that's when we found out that the fight had been postponed. So for us at that moment, the decision was to, well, we had two things we could do. We could stay, or we could get back on the plane and head back to Vegas. We decided to stay. We went on up to Big Bear.
Mm-hmm.
We trained up there for a few days. We sparred up there. We ran up there. And then we came back down to California and worked out at the Wild Card for a couple of days.
Mm.
And then came back to Vegas and continued with our preparation. So I said, let me create something, which I've always done this type of thing with my son since he was very small. I've always said to him, I'll put you in a position to excel.
Mm.
And so I decided to create another situation that he could excel from, instead of allowing him to stop training or allowing him to lose his focus or allowing him to be down about it. I figured out a way to just take the lemons and make lemonade.
Excellent.
So that's what we're doing this weekend.
Excellent.
And after this is over this weekend, then he will be allowed to, just like he would have if he was fighting Keith this weekend, he'll be allowed to take a little vacation, take a week or so just to do nothing, no training, just relax, go visit friends, family, his mother, or even if he wants to, take a trip somewhere, go right ahead and do that, enjoy yourself, and then come back with the batteries charged up,
mm-hmm.
and get back to work whenever we find out what the date is.
Yeah, because they haven't actually rescheduled it, right? It's just, I mean, it's postponed as of now, but they haven't rescheduled it.
Yes, that's all we got is postponed at this point. We don't even have a tentative date.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're still waiting for that information to get to us.
Yeah, and I know it's got to be frustrating. I mean, I know, training camps. Do you guys do a 6-week camp or 8-week camp?
Well, let me say this. Sean does a lifestyle camp, so this is his lifestyle year-round. So he's never not working out. He's always working out. He's doing some type of cross-training, whether it's bike riding or swimming, or he does yoga every week. Of course, he's in a boxing gym. We do a lot of different type of conditioning drills and training, for footwork and things like that at the UNLV track. So he's always doing something. When we get a date, that's when we crank it up. That's when we, look at the calendar and see what days we'll spar harder or go more rounds, that type of thing. We'll look at our weight and put together a chart of, what days we expect, what weeks we expect the weight to be in certain places. Also put together a hydration chart. And, we keep very good records of his heart and his respiration as well.
Okay.
So he's never out of shape, but, when we get a date, then we just kind of crank it up from there,
Okay.
gear up to that date. And so this is that date this weekend.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I see his videos on Facebook, the Porter Way. I see him all the time whenever you post them, and I'm older than your son, but I actually look up to him a lot. I think he's a great kid. He's definitely one of my favorite fighters. I was really looking forward to this Keith Thurman, Sean Porter fight, and I know things happen. Boxing is one of those things, and fighters talk about the frustration of going into a camp. And even though for Sean it's kind of a year-round thing, but, they ramp it up before a fight, as you were saying, and kind of get into peak condition, and then to get that phone call that the fight is off, mentally it kind of throws you off a little bit.
Yeah, it does, and that's why I continue to stay in his head and keep him focused so that there wouldn't be a letdown. So it's crazy right now, just with that promo that we've got on Facebook for this exhibition this weekend. Facebook contacted Premier Boxing Champions and told them that they had over 1.6 million views on it.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So there was over 900 shares on it. I got a phone call yesterday from the UK asking me if they could live stream it in the UK. So Sean had no choice but to stay focused because everything around him was about, the preparation and also the final night. So, he's ready.
Right.
He's ready for this weekend.
Right. And it's interesting, listening to you talk. You were saying how you allow him to go ahead and take a vacation once things are done. The fight is over with. Take some time to visit his mother, hang out with some friends and family, and just kind of recharge the battery before he regroups and gets ready for another date. And so one thing I want to talk about, because it's well known for the boxing fans that you guys have a sibling-like relationship, a brother-type relationship, and that's been talked about. But in reality, you did conceive him, so you are his father. You're not his brother. What's that relationship like? Take us down the road of the dynamics between you two, and particularly in training camp and maybe outside the ring, because I'm sure it's not always brother.
No, it's not always that, but it is a lot like that, a lot. And, for more reasons than one, I did have him at a young age, 18, but at the same time, and a lot of people don't know about my past and my history, but I'm from the city of Cleveland, and I was born in a very, very rough tough, hard city and hard part of the city. And at a young age, I experienced a lot of, family members dying, and my brother was one of them. My brother was killed by a drunk driver when I was 4 years old, and he was 3. So my whole entire life, I have been looking for my brother. I've always protected other kids. I've always helped other kids get across the street. Even as I became a young adult, I was, always getting caught up in situations that had absolutely nothing to do with me, but just when I saw someone bullying or mistreating somebody or disrespecting somebody, I would always step in. So Sean had taken that place of, that brother that I lost at a young age. When Sean was born, he became more, as he got older, he became more of a brother than just my son. So we were very close in a lot of different respects, in a lot of different ways, things that we do. And I think a big part of that is because of my loss, and he's told me that he's happy to be in that position with me, that he could just fill that void. But we do a lot of things together, and a lot of people, probably wouldn't imagine that, of course they know things like, okay, we go to church together, that's true, but, Sean will call me up and say, hey, me and my boys are about to go out and do karaoke, come on, go with us, and then Sean and I are on the stage singing together, or, I'll surprise him, which I did just, maybe about a little more than a month ago, I surprised him. I said, hey, we're going to Phoenix. And we get to Phoenix, and, I had something set up for us to skydive.
Oh, wow.
So we jumped 1,500 feet, out of the plane. And then we hit the ground, and then we go from there, and we get on the racetrack in the stock cars, and we go around the track 200 miles an hour, and those type of things that we do together, we've done together, that nobody can duplicate, or nobody can take that memory away from us. Him and I have rode camels in the Sahara Desert together.
Wow. That's a good adventure.
4-wheel. Yeah, we rode 4-wheelers in the Sahara Desert together. So we have a plan this year to. That was actually our second time skydiving, but we have a plan this year to go scuba diving in Mexico, but you got to take a 40-hour class and all this kind of stuff, and that adds on to the bond that we have.
Right.
That adds on to that we can't just go and just get in the scuba gear. We got to actually go take a class together.
Right.
So those kind of things work for us. We've even double dated together on more than one occasion.
Okay, that's it. Now, that's a beautiful thing, man. The family dynamic with a lot of people is nowhere near what it should be. So when you hear stories like this, it's really a beautiful thing, And I've read up a lot on you guys, but I certainly hadn't heard all the things that you just talked about. So it's awesome.
Yeah. We used to have a little silly thing we did. We've traveled all over when he was growing up to. Go to all these different boxing tournaments and things like that. And I was his football coach and started him off in football and coached him in that from 7 years old till he was 14, And we did all of these things together, and we used to have a little silly thing we would do when we would get to a hotel in whatever city we were going to box in. As soon as we get to the hotel, we would move all the furniture, the table or whatever was in the front room, we move it all to the side, and we get down on the floor and wrestle each other. And so, these are just things that, him and I do. We understand each other, and we love each other, and we care about each other. And, of course, there's times when I'm pushing him hard and getting on his back and trying to make him, be better than he already is. And there's times that he doesn't want to do that, and then when that's over with, he's like, man, I'm glad you made me do that, or whatever that might be. So it works for us.
Yeah. Well, you guys are very fortunate to have each other. That's for sure. And the bond isn't fake or phony. You know, I follow the sport very closely. I see you guys on television all the time. I see you in press conferences all the time. And what you're talking about, it shows. It definitely comes across.
Oh, no, it's definitely real. And he would tell you himself, and he's told me this enough times, he said, if you, meaning he was talking about me, if you weren't involved with this, if you weren't training me and managing me, I wouldn't even box. He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't be involved with it, you know. So, it works very well for us. We definitely have different personalities, but that personality that you see in the ring with Sean when he turns it on, that's me. That's all me, you know.
Okay, that's yeah, right.
But,
yeah.
Right, but when he's outside of the ring, I think he's the best part of me that I'm not. He's just that really good person, really nice, humble, quiet, nice kid that you could take home, to your mother. And so, even at this point, he still lives at home with me.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's funny. I was explaining to the person here in the studio with me. I said, Sean has the sweet, humble spirit about him, and he's soft spoken kid. And I said the father's he's a little more outspoken. He's
oh yeah. But then on the other side of that, I mean, just as we're as we communicate and talking right now, we could be just holding a regular conversation. That's me. That's not a problem at all. But in the sport of boxing, and what we got going on in the sport of boxing, someone has to take that lead and someone has to take the position to let people know that you're here and you want to fight. Otherwise, the closed mouth doesn't get fed. Now, when I was coaching football, I never said anything to the other football team or to the other football coaches. Shook their hands when we walk out to the middle of the field, and that's it. Win, lose, or draw, whatever it might be.
Right. Right.
But in this sport, if you're not telling people who you are and what you're going to do and backing it up, you're not going to get anything.
Yeah.
And my son just happens to be one of those kids not going to say very much. And it's been tried not just by me, but it's been tried by the likes of Bernard Hopkins, the likes of Oscar De La Hoya, where they sat him down and said, listen, man, we need you to be more vocal. You can't get him to do it.
Yeah. Well, you are who you are, and what you're saying, I figured was the case, and I tell people all the time, in boxing, you really have to be your own PR person, and if you're not, it's gonna hurt you in the pockets. And in his case, he himself may not be, but he has the second best thing, which is you speaking up for him and being a little more vocal for him. And to your point, you have to have that. Boxing is that one sport where that dynamic exists, where if you're not your own PR person, if you're not being vocal, if you're not putting yourself out there, even if you hire a public relations person, you still have to, you yourself, be very vocal and let the world know who you are and what you're about, because that's the format.
Exactly. So Adrian Bronner speaks for himself, and he gets, all the attention that he gets, and Floyd speaks for himself, and he gets, and all, the antics that he has that go along with it, and he gets, paid, and, he gets pay-per-view for that, and, even a guy like Keith Thurman, who speaks of himself in the third party, and, on one time, and this kind of thing, and he's promoting himself, and that's a great thing. You're not going to be able to get Sean to do that.
Yeah.
So, let's keep it real, and I speak for Sean in that situation. Keith would love for Sean to be quiet. Floyd loves when Sean doesn't say anything. Adrian don't want Sean to say anything either.
Yeah. Well, Adrian don't have nothing to say anyways. He got beat up by your son, so ain't nothing for him to say.
Yeah, but you understand, if he keeps quiet, then maybe we don't have to fight him.
Sure.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Right.
Keith would like for Sean to go away, I'm sure of that. Floyd lives right down the street from me, and I call him the little boy that lives down the street, and he's never responded to it. But I don't have no problem saying that, but he's not going to respond to that. Reason for that, because they want us to go away.
Right. Right.
You know, they want the sleeping dog to lie. The problem is, if you get past that sleeping dog, the owner got a shotgun in his hand. That's me.
Right. Well, you know, it's funny that you mentioned Keith Thurman because he does great interviews. He's not super flamboyant like a Floyd Mayweather or Adrian Broner, but you know, he does speak of himself in the third person, as he's saying. It kind of has a comical effect, but he's also very articulate and he's very strategic with his words. He knows what he's doing. And I was watching the interview with him a few weeks back, and your name came up, and he said, you know, Sean doesn't say anything. It's just Kenny that says everything, you know. And it was kind of interesting. But, you know, you guys also have a relationship. I know Keith Thurman did say something about you guys have been to each other's houses, and, you know, you guys have talked to each other.
I've known Keith. I've coached Keith in the amateurs. I worked his corner in the amateurs. I worked with Keith in his own boxing gym. I trained Keith on the collegiate track. I've worked with Keith on cross-training with swimming. He sparred 30, 40 rounds with Sean. I've worked Keith's corner as a professional fighter here in Las Vegas when he was in a pro fight. I was one of the seconds in the corner, so I know Keith very well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's a funny thing when guys say things like, well, Keith was one of the guys that said, I'm fighting Sean Porter, I ain't fighting his dad. But the truth of the matter is, if you look at the situation, and I've worked in your corner and all those different dynamics come to play on fight night, you are fighting me.
It's a good way to look at it.
Somebody that knows a lot about you, so you are fighting me. Just take an example, if there was a coach that had trained Sean in the amateurs, if there was a coach that had worked with Sean, you know, on conditioning in the amateurs, conditioning in the pros, and worked Sean's corner in the pros, me as his head trainer, when we get prepared for that fight against that guy, the first thing I'm saying, damn, I got to get ready for this guy because he knows a lot about Sean. I am fighting that guy that night. Not only am I fighting that fighter, but I'm fighting that trainer because that trainer knows so much.
Right.
So those are the type of things that Keith has to take to the ring with him, knowing that I know so much about him.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing his trainer thinks. You know, his trainer thinks, man, Kenny knows a lot about us. Kenny even has a key to our gym.
Right.
I got a key to that gym. You know, so, you know, it is what it is, right?
Right. It is. And again, just a little controversial, you know. I mean, obviously, when a fighter pulls out of a fight, there's always, you know, oh, he's scared or this, that, and the other, and whatever the reason given for them to pull out of the fight is not the real reason. And of course, in Keith Thurman's situation, he had a car accident, and you know, in my opinion, that it could always be valid because, you know, we all know the nature of a car accident. It could be a small fender bender, but, you know, the human body is delicate, so it's difficult to say. You can go ahead and give your thoughts. Do you think it's legit, or do you think it's a little BS going on?
Well, you know, I can't tell you how you're going to feel after a car accident compared to how I'm going to feel after a car accident or how the next person will feel. You know, we're all different. So nobody can say. But, you know, in that particular situation, you know, we got to go with what was told to us and give them the benefit of the doubt. Now, to make sure that you're not opening yourself to speculation, you're not opening yourself to criticism, the first thing that I would suggest you do, and I would suggest this of anybody that I was working with, training in any aspect, or even, you know, someone that I employ, the first thing I'm going to need from you is an accident report. And right along with that accident report, I'm going to need a medical report. That's just common knowledge, you know, that if you can't make it to work, then you need to bring the proper paperwork to the attention of the people who are in charge and say, here's everything you need to know about my accident. Here's everything you need to know about my injury.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So then you don't have that speculation. Now you don't have that, you know, criticism going on. And, you know, they left themselves open for that. So I'll leave that to everybody else to decide. But, you know, the question was asked to me, and they said, well, do you need to see some some proof. And I answered the question with yes. That was the only thing I said. Those 3 letters, yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, would you expect me to say anything else? No, you would not.
No. Mm-mm.
But I said yes, and then a few reporters took off with it and ran with it and said I was demanding it, and I had to have it, and so on and so forth. But to this point, they haven't felt like they needed to show us anything. I haven't asked for anything, and I haven't demanded anything. But you would think that someone, at the level that they are and the business that we're dealing with here, a very, very high-level fight, who was on CBS, first time on CBS in 40 years, that they would have taken, the steps to make sure that everybody involved knew exactly what was going on. But, they left themselves open for that speculation.
Sure. And I understand. I lean towards giving him the benefit of the doubt because I do like him as a fighter and I like him as a person. But proof and documentation or empirical evidence, as I always like to say, it helps. Helps clear your cause.
Yeah. It's what's necessary. It's what I would present on Sean's behalf. As I'm his manager, I would present that. I would make sure that everybody involved saw that and knew that,
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't feel it was necessary, and to this point, we still haven't received anything. So there, you leave yourself open for that speculation. You leave yourself open for that criticism. I know boxers, and I've dealt with boxing now. I'm going into my 26th year. 26 years of being involved with this, and I'm not even talking about when I did the junior boxing, so, more years than that. But boxers will find a way to get out of a training session. They'll find a way to get out of a sparring session. They'll find a way to get out of running. They'll find a way to, get out of a lot of things, and they can be very creative. So this wouldn't be the first time that I've seen this type of thing happen. And, as somebody pointed out to me, normally when this kind of stuff happens, when, again, we hope the guy gets a speedy recovery and he's well enough to set a date here real soon. But, someone pointed out to me, they said, normally when this type of stuff happens that you see a boxer was hesitant to take a fight, or it took a long time for the fight to get signed, and then there's some kind of postponement, it's normally the champion, the A side, that comes up with the postponement. And we see that to happen a lot. It's never the challenger that can't make it to the fight.
Yeah, well, they feel like they have something to lose.
Yeah, it's not the challenger. The challenger is always there. The challenger's ready to go. So, they leave themselves open for that.
Yeah. Two-part question for you. What fighter in your son's division do you think can offer him the most competition? And how high is the rematch with Kell Brook on the list for you guys?
I'm going to say that it is Keith. And I'm going to say right behind Keith would be Kell Brook.
Okay, that makes sense.
And as far as rematching Kell, the business of boxing, and you said in something I read, you spoke about me, you said I'm not shy about words. There's no reason to be shy. 1 + 1 = 2, and it never changes. So if you go back and you look at the rankings of the IBF, right after Sean lost his title to Kell Brook, he was dropped from the top 25 of the IBF. And I called up the IBF president and I asked him, I said, Sean Porter just 7 weeks ago was your champion. He's no longer ranked in your top 25. Can you please explain this to me? And the guy stuttered and hesitated and couldn't give me a straight answer. And then he finally said, if you give me your phone number, Mr. Porter, I'll give you a call back after I find out through my selection committee what's going on here. That has been almost 2 years now. He never called me back.
That's
and
too
Sean
bad.
isn't ranked. And Sean isn't ranked by the IBF. And there was a reason for that. Like I said, 1 + 1 = 2. That reasoning was so that Sean would not get a rematch with Kell Brook.
Because he should be number 2.
No. He was never number 2. He went from champion to not even being ranked by the IBF.
Right.
So he went from champion to not even being ranked by the IBF. So it doesn't bother me. They don't like it because I've never asked to fight for that title again anyway, so they can keep it. It doesn't bother me not one bit. And not only does that not bother me, you've never heard Kell Brook say anything about rematching Sean Porter either. That ain't going to happen. He don't have no interest in it. You know what I mean? So they got that one off. It worked out well for him. And since then, he hasn't fought one named fighter.
No.
Not one guy that you ever heard of.
No, he sure hasn't.
Not about to.
He sure hasn't, and it's going to hurt him. People in the boxing game aren't stupid, and I was listening to a boxing show earlier today, and that very thing was brought up. His performance against your son was a very solid performance, but since then he hasn't fought anybody who's anywhere near the caliber of your son, and that's an issue. It's a big issue.
Yeah, and let me ask you a question. If I came up with a strategy for Sean to beat Kell Brook, and I took Sean to England, and I said, okay, here's a strategy, Sean. You're going to grab Kell Brook, and you're going to hold on to him all night. Do you think Sean would have won that title?
Yeah.
You think we would have went over to England?
Oh, no, I'm saying, no, you wouldn't have, but yes.
Nah. There's no way we would have won that title over there by holding that guy all night. We'd have been disqualified. Wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Would have never happened.
Yeah. But he came here and
everybody that was involved with that fight and everybody was involved with that ranking after that fight knew exactly what was going on in that fight. I had the boxing commission come over to me during the fight and say, Mr. Porter, tell your coaches to stop yelling at the referee. They were yelling at the referee to tell the referee to stop the holding. Why don't you tell your referee to do his job? After 81 holds in the first 7 rounds, it's a foul. It's no longer clinching.
Correct.
No longer holding. 81 holds in the first 7 rounds.
Correct.
Even in the Adrian Bronner fight, the referee said, okay, too much holding, Adrian, we're going to take a point away from you. Adrian didn't hold half as much as Kell Brook, and he had points taken away.
Right.
And that happened to be the exact same referee in our fight that when Jesse Vargas was fighting Tim Bradley and dropped Tim Bradley in the last round. That's the same referee that waved off the fight, saying the fight was over, and then changed his mind and said, no, the fight isn't over. And then you wonder, how could something like that happen?
Yeah. That was a terrible call. I watched that fight, and it was I think Bradley would have won.
Yeah, but then we're talking about boxing here. Okay, so all of you people sitting around this ring here who are judges, can't you override this? Can't you say, hey, you just called off the fight, it's over? Because you know and I know if I step on that ring apron and wave off the fight as a coach, the fight is over.
Absolutely.
I can't change my mind and say, no, that's okay, we decided, no, we want to continue. So how is it the referee gets to change his mind when he calls off the fight?
Right. That was bizarre.
The exact same referee. So is it incompetence or is it a conspiracy? I don't know.
Well, in boxing, that line is very thin. It's been thin for...
It's a very thin line.
It's a very thin line. It's been thin for 125 years now. It really has been. It's like, okay, is this an inside job? Is this corruption? Is this a conspiracy? Or did it just happen? And the reality is both can happen. We do know that there's obviously been fixed fights and there's been corruption. And then... there's also just the human factor. People make mistakes and make errors. So
yeah, people make mistakes. We understand this. What can we do in the sport of boxing to clean up the mistakes. What can we do? I think everybody involved can, make a critical decision at that point to say, you know what, you called off the fight. That's what we got to say it is.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody steps up and nobody does that, and so it continues, with a learned behavior. And to be nice about it, it continues with the same result, and doing the same thing over and over again is considered what?
It's on purpose. So learn.
Getting the same result.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's insanity.
Insanity.
You get the same result. So, we banging our head up against the wall here over and over again, and getting the same result. So I didn't have a dog in that fight. Either guy could have won. It wasn't some, so I just saw a referee call the fight off, and I don't think you can change the decision after you call it off. But like I said, that's the kind of stuff that we deal with.
Boxing has some tricky ways. Do you plan on having Sean stay in the same weight class for now, or are you looking at him moving up? Because I know naturally.
Yeah, no, man, we ain't going nowhere. Because we want to fight Keith 1 time, 2 times. We want to fight Keith twice this year. Got to get him in the ring the first time, though. But we do want to fight Keith twice.
Sure.
And there's other guys in the division that we would love to have a fight with. Danny Garcia.
I think your son definitely beats Danny Garcia. He definitely beats Danny Garcia. Our dream fight,
Sean and I both discussed, his dream fight is Tim Bradley.
Okay.
We'd love to have that.
It's a good fight.
And you got to understand our position. It's not even about winning the championships. It's about having a great fight with a great fighter. When you have a Sugar Ray Leonard, a Roberto Duran, a Tommy Hearns, a Marvelous Marvin Hagler, those guys fought each other and they made each other great. And that's what Sean wants to do. He wants to challenge himself. He wants to challenge the other guys in the division and become great. So if you can put together some fights with a Keith Thurman and a Tim Bradley and Danny Garcia and a Manny Pacquiao, you can put those fights together, then these guys will make each other great. It'll bring out the best in each other. It'll bring out the best in each fighter. And that's what we want. It's not about the championships. It's not about, crazy amounts of money or anything like that. It's not about pay-per-view. It's about being great, challenging yourself. And then, boxing has a small window.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not supposed to stay here. You're not supposed to stay here too long.
No. And the ones who do, there's consequences. But what you said is an interesting thought process, because it's not one that's shared by all boxers. Some people, it's just all about the belts or the pay-per-views. Right now, the biggest trend is keeping the O. If you're an undefeated fighter, if you're 18-0 to 24-0 or 27-0, it's just all about remaining undefeated. And if you have to take on some B-level fighters to keep your O, that's what a lot of people are doing. And that approach is, I don't like it at all. That's something that Danny Garcia is doing, and several other fighters are taking on people that aren't really a challenge to them and people that they know that they're going to beat. And so the approach that you have with your son is somewhat unique in the game of boxing right now, because a lot of other fighters have the direct opposite approach.
Yeah, no, we want to fight the best. I mean, we love a fight with. We want to fight Keith twice this year, and I don't think Keith's happy about that. He's like, we talking about a kid that used to run around hollering, "I got an O, I ain't afraid to go. Don't duck me, son. Don't duck me, son." And then as soon as my quiet kid comes out and said, "Okay, I'll fight you," all of a sudden Keith got quiet.
Right.
Keep it real about that. Didn't he get really quiet?
He did. He
just really retreated. It was no more, "I got this O and I ain't afraid to let it go," and it was no more about "don't duck me, son," and all that kind of stuff like that, and there's got to be there's got to be something to that. So I know, when they first brought the fight to our attention, I said, yeah, we'll take the fight. Let's fight twice. Let's be great. Let's fight twice. Right. They didn't want that. Right. But there is a rematch clause in there once we beat him. You know, there is a rematch clause in there once we beat him that he's going to fight us again. We got to give him that second opportunity. So we're looking forward to fighting him twice, and then we're looking forward to, you know, the other guys in this division as well. You know, the Danny Garcias, the Tim Bradleys, those guys. You know, that's what we're looking forward to. And, you know, eventually a young guy like Errol Spence, you know, gets a few more fights on his belt, you know, and you know, steps up his game a little bit more, you know, when that time comes. That time will be here, and, you know, we hope that, you know, we ready, you know, we still here, that, you know, it don't take him that long to get to where we at, you know. So that's what it's about. It's about being great. Yeah. For us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, you're in the deepest division in boxing, so there's a lot of people to pick and choose from, and I think the Tim Bradley fight would be great. You know, style-wise, you know, you always hear styles make fights, and the style of Tim Bradley and the style of your son, man, what a matchup.
I think it's really an exciting matchup, you know, and you know, we hope that before we're done with it, before Tim Bradley's done with it, we get an opportunity to get in the ring with him, you know. And, you know, we got respect for Tim. We have respect for all of the fighters. We have respect for, you know, all the guys in our division. And, you know, we just want to see, you know, how far we can go with it and challenge ourselves as well as challenge those guys.
Sure. Before we wrap up, your quick thoughts on a few fights that are coming up that are highly anticipated. Andre Ward possibly facing Kovalev. What are your thoughts on that one?
You know what? If I had to say right now, honestly, Andre been you know, inactive for the last 2 years or so, or somewhere along in there. It doesn't matter who you are, actually, to me. Being inactive that much and coming back against a guy who has been very active. You know, this guy's fighting regular, and he's fighting, you know, top guys regular.
And dominant.
You're at a deficit. Yeah, you're at a deficit. So, you know, I would love to see that fight, but I would like to see Andre get a couple fights under his belt before he gets in there with Kovalev.
Yeah, I actually, I'm right there with you. I think that if Andre Ward were to fight him tomorrow, he loses. I think if he were to...
no, that's not a good fight tomorrow.
No, it's not a good fight. No.
Or even next week.
No, it really isn't. But 2 to 3, you know, B-plus level, A-minus level fighters, to really get him back in there, then it's the thing. Because the guy is just ridiculously talented. I mean, he just has very, very few flaws, just extremely skilled. One of my favorite fighters. Just really, really, really good. But Kovalev is top notch. Not only does he have power, but you know he can actually box. You know, the guy's got skill.
Yeah, he showed he could box against Bernard.
Yeah,
and I was surprised at that, but I think he's the real deal. He really is. And again, Andre being inactive is that's a hard way to go. That's you know, it's an uphill battle.
Yeah, it definitely is. What about Canelo Khan? Who we got in that one?
Canelo Khan. You know, they're looking at you know, on the Khan side, they're looking at speed, quickness, and a strategy that's going to outsmart Canelo. And then on the Canelo side, they're looking at, you know, punching power, and they're looking at a weight advantage that they're going to try to use. So it's going to be, you know, which side strategy works. But, you know, as it looks, you know, from the outside looking in, and that's where we sit. We sit outside the ring, and we look in. It looks like Canelo has the edge and the victory here to me.
Yeah, I would definitely have to agree. I like Amir Khan. He's very fun to watch. He's very fast. But I don't see him being able to power through Canelo. I think Canelo's way too durable, and his actual skill level is really high. He's shown in his past few fights that he's for real. He's the real deal. He's not just there to be a face, and he's not just where he's at because he's with Golden Boy and Oscar De La Hoya to push him along. He's truly skilled, and as much as I like Amir Khan, I just don't see it happening for him. I don't see it at all.
No, that's not a good situation to be in. I would have much rather seen a hydration clause because on fight night, Amir could be giving up 15 pounds or more, easy.
Oh, I think he'll give up about 20. Yeah, yeah. I think he'll give up about
a lot of weight that night.
Yeah,
and that will wear you down over the course of the rounds. I mean, a heavy-handed puncher, a guy that has matured and got a lot better since he fought Floyd Mayweather. He went back to the classroom, he went back to the laboratory, he went back to the drawing board, and he's improved.
He really has. He Floyd Mayweather made him look bad, but that's not. One, he was younger in his career, and two, who was he fighting? Floyd Mayweather. Somebody who was exceptionally gifted. But as you said, the guy has put in some work. His performance against James Kirkland, man, that was pretty unbelievable. I honestly think Aries Leslie Laura kind of. You can make an argument that he lost that fight, but you can also make an argument that he won, and the judges gave it to him. So he's got real skill, and Aries Leslie Laura is extremely technically sound. So the kid can box, and I think he's definitely going to give Khan a difficult time and be victorious.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you on that. Very much so.
Yeah. Well, hey, thanks so much for hopping on the line with us. This has been great. As I said, I'm a fan of both you guys. I follow almost all the interviews that you do and read up on all the stuff that's out there on social media about you. Goes, not only is your son very talented, but I just really respect people who carry themselves with integrity and the character that both of you guys have. So must appreciate it, brother. Keep up the good work, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us, and whenever you get an opportunity to have an open slot, please, have me back, or even have Sean on.
Oh, that's without question.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a great, successful fight on Saturday, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you again. Bye.
All right, bye-bye. Okay, we're going to hop into a quick commercial break. Thanks again to Kenny Porter for hopping on the line with us. What a good conversation. What a great guy. Very knowledgeable about the sport. Very passionate, and has some really good perspectives. So we're going to do this commercial break. We'll be back in a few. The Body Shop Boxing Show.
Okay. Up, turn around. Bedtime, little girl.
They also reminds us that all our hard work is paying into a retirement fund that makes us eligible for monthly Social Security benefits when we reach retirement age. If you worked 10 years and received 4 credits each year for a total of 40 credits, you'll enjoy the security of Social Security retirement benefits. Remember, those years don't have to be consecutive. In the past, applying for benefits required you to drive to a Social Security office and fill out paperwork. Now, you can visit www.socialsecurity.gov/apply online to find out everything you need to know about applying online for retirement benefits. Consider now what protection your labor has earned for you and your family through Social Security.
All right, boxing fans, what a great show we had. That's going to do it for us. This is Twilight Talk Radio. I'm your host, Brian Murphy. Again, we can be heard every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Pacific time. Let's do a little social media house cleaning here. We got boxing@murphygrouppr.com. That is boxing@murphygrouppr.com. That's my email address. If you want to shoot me an email, please feel free to do so. My blog, www.bodyshotboxing.wordpress.com. That's bodyshotboxing.wordpress.com. And if you want to reach us on Facebook, you can do so at Body Shot Boxing Blog. That is Body Shot Boxing Blog. And on Twitter, it's Body Shot Boxing 2. That is Body Shot Boxing numerical 2. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next week. Hey, long live boxing, everyone. Good night.
Put your mark in your praise. Normally I know when to back off, 'cause you're raising the stakes. I play to win.
The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Twilight Talk Radio, its advertisers, or affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.